Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the season finale of the Apex Racing League GT Championship presented by Colbek. We are going to be deciding our 3 champions, the Pro Division Champion, the Amateur Division Champion and the Teams Champions at the conclusion of this evening's meeting, and it is quite a host as well for the season finale. Long Beach Street course for the first time in the Apex Racing League GT Championship history. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Peter Mackay. Sam Kumo is operating the cameras, and Peter, I cannot wait for this one. We have had 11 rounds, 22 races of enthralling action, and even at this very late point in the season, we still have 4 drivers in the hope for the overall championship. It is quite a setting up that we've got tonight.
Well, I think that's testament to the depth of quality that we have in this field and the closeness of the of all of the drivers involved. It's to have 4 drivers going into this this season finale with a chance to win the title is exactly what we wish for as broadcasters and as fans. So who's going to come out on top? Well, if you want anywhere where you can get unpredictability, well, that's here at Long Beach. Any mistake at all will be punished in the most severe fashion.
Absolutely, it could be a tricky one for the drivers. And we were talking about it at Sonoma last time out, just how much of a possibility the swing could be going into the final meeting of the season. Here is the points. Yeah, Jensen Adjenson's at the top of the Amateur Championship. With the drop score, he is looking very strong. Still needs to get a few points under his a few points in the bag tonight just to confirm that one. His teammate Kevin Kitzman up into second place after a tricky Sonoma round for Steve Burke there in third. And you can see so many other drivers who have really made an impression on this championship in that amateur category so far this season. And then Nicholas Laubisch top of the overall drivers. So possibly the favourite for this one. In fact, who do you think is the favourite for this one, Peter? Do you think the fact that Laubisch has had the momentum, he scored the most amount of points of anyone in the last kind of 6 rounds or so, is he going to win out this one? Or do you think it's inevitable that there's going to be a twist to the action?
Well, it's an intriguing one, isn't it, Sam? Because Laubisch has definitely been the standout driver on pace, particularly when his teammate Alexei Nezov moved out of the championship about halfway through. Laubisch is definitely been the guy with the best 1 lap pace. However, he's made a few mistakes under pressure, that's for sure. He's made a couple of just a little errors that have proved very, very costly indeed. And tonight, well, this is the most intense pressure of all. So this is going to be a big ask for Nicholas Laubisch, but the one thing that is never in doubt is his pace behind the wheel. But James Crouch in the Ferrari, nearly 0.2 of a second on pole at the moment. What a super start for Evo SR.
And he did get pole, of course, at Montreal. I've said that so many times this season, and he won race 1 as well. If anyone's going to... street circuit, yeah. If anyone's going to get kind of in the middle of that pack, I think it's probably going to be that man James Crouch. Also Vin Glenn as well was very impressive last season, and Meg Paluch as well could definitely help out his teammate Sven Newman if requires, and he's up there in third place. A little bit of a mixed up grid, but we've still got 3 more minutes of this session to go. We should have 26 competitors for tonight's racing. A couple of them starting from the pits. In fact, Newman will be starting from the pits for this race 1, Peter, after picking up a penalty last time out. Does that, because he's second place in the championship in terms of points, does that relegate him to 4th favourite, or do you think with the reverse grid that could be a blessing in disguise? I mean, is it? What's the likeliness of him really challenging from him on in, Newman?
Well, it is really luck of the draw, actually, I would say, for Sven Newman, because when you look here at Long Beach, you think, starting from pit lane, you think, oh, it's got one of the longest pit lanes in the world, and you just think it just takes forever to get to the end of the pit lane. So you've got to think, well, that's surely a death sentence. But what Long Beach is also notorious for, especially with the rolling starts that we have here in the RLGT, coming down to turn 1 right now, we're going to get a good look here on board with Mattia Fellini. You think, where's the turn? Where's it gone? Oh, it's in there. Oh, okay. So we've seen a number of times where you can get really big pile-ups in the opening sector, and a lot of drivers can get taken out of the action. Sven Newman, of course, will avoid all that. So it depends how the cards are going to fall. It's impossible to say, but those are the kind of 2 scenarios that can play out for Sven Newman. If everybody gets through clean, then he's going to have a long opening race, because passing here at Long Beach is not easy at all. So he kind of needs there to be a bit of attrition ahead of him so he can make his way through, get a good spot for the reverse grid, and try and fight on from there.
Daniel Lee's just stormed to the top of the standings. I don't think Lee's got a pole position this season. If in meeting 12 of the championship he could get a pole position, well, that would be a huge deal. He needs to make up about 10 points on Nicholas Laubisch. And if he could finish first and Laubisch in third after the first race, that would pretty much put them tied on points. But there will be a 16-car reverse grid later on. And so that is sure to kind of mix up the order, and really it's going to be that race to where the season is probably going to be decided. We saw it disastrous from Matteo Fulini last week at Sonoma, spinning out on the first lap. Can Lee improve this time as well? It's just a bit short. In fact, it was a good lap there from Lee. It was only a 10th off, so even that lap time would have been good enough for third place on the grid. Laubish improves, but it's only good enough for third place. He has got fuel for one more lap, and in a season of very good qualifying laps for Nicholas Laubish, this is where he really needs to deploy it. If he can get pole position here, he would have a real stake on the championship.
To run out of time, I think we're going to tick over into the race session. So it looks like it'll be no better than third for Nicholas Laubish. Do we have anyone else coming over the line? Maybe Matteo Fellini may make it over in time. It's going to be... No, I don't think so. No. So it looks like that's going to be our top position set, Sam.
Also, Tolman just sets a time, I think, but I don't think it was a big improvement, at least for Tolman. I think he's going to be close here, but did set a personal best sector 2. I think he did... Yeah, there you go. He did cross the line. Thank goodness. We would have been forever thinking, what's it? What's it's going to be? A pole position time. But instead, we know it was not an improvement. So, like I said, I believe for the first time this season, it's Danny Lee on pole position. He lost the championship lead at Sonoma, but that is some way to get himself into play. James Crouch, really the wild card out of those top positions, lines up in second place. There's Nicholas Laubish, championship leader, in third. Matteo Fulini has got some catching up to do. He could really do with a race 1 win here in fourth position, and Matthias Beert lines up in fifth. Then it's Mick Palach, Vin Glenn, Chris van der Nesse, Kevin Kitzmer is top of the amateur drivers, and Tom Brown rounds out the top 10. Behind that, it's Dean Powell, Steve Burke in 12th, Tom Collins, Chris Prescott, Jensen Adriansons, amateur championship leader, of course. Dave Chadwick lines up in 16th. Then it's John Chessiter, Tom Bingham, Marco Tolman, Matty Chambers, Stephen Broomfield, Brent Cook, and then the drive starting from the pits, we believe, Sven Newman and Andy Thompson. I'm not sure about Derek Holland and Sean Simpson. I think they're actually taken to the grid, have those back too, so they will be starting from the grid. But yeah, Newman and Thompson starting from the pits. Wow, well, I'm excited about this one, Pete. I just hope that we get through that hairpin on the formation lap, because that is so tight that on these rolling starts it can be very tricky. Hopefully we all get through it unscathed.
One thing is, you can be sure that the Ford Mustang pace car will show them the way. Show them the way through. That is one thing you can be sure. I mean, yeah, it is really tight through there. So tight that back in the days of the American Le Mans series, when they did a lot of races alongside the IndyCar paddock, and Alan McNish told me once that the diesel LMP1 Audi was designed for Le Mans. It was not designed for street circuits like this. And he actually said it was virtually impossible to get the Audi R10 TDI around the final hairpin, so much so that he almost had to deliberately bounce the car off the wall to get it around, which is a scary thought, but hopefully that gives an impression of just how tight it is.
Yeah, and we will probably see some overtakes around there. I think the drivers will be hoping not to have too many. Yeah, we will do. Hopefully this isn't one and the drivers get into single file, which is the wise thing to do, and then they'll form into double file coming out of the corner. It's pretty much Daniel Lee's choice then to when to put his foot down. The drivers will try to form behind, but the season finale then of the Apex Racing League GT Championship presented by Colbek is underway. It's not a strong start for Lee whatsoever, and Crouch is pulling ahead. Shorter line down into turn 1. Laubi's trying to make an attack as well. Beer is looking racy up the inside, but it's Ferrari and Porsche alongside into turn 1, and James Crouch almost into the wall. In fact, into the wall was Mick Palach there. Laubi almost hit the wall as well, trying to get past Daniel Lee, but Crouch did manage to make that move stick. Poor start for Brown, who's round, and we got a car as well in the middle of the circuit. It's Dean Powell's the drivers trying to rush past round the fountain section. Powell is facing the wrong way. Most of the drivers get past unscathed there, but poor start for Simpson, Van der Nesse, and Chambers, I think, and of course that man. In fact, it was Van der Nesse. I thought it was Powell, but no, it was Van der Nesse all along.
He's having to do a bit of an Austin Powers 3-point turn or 10-point turn there. It looked like Danny Lee and James Crouch got into a heck of a tangle there going around the waterfall, and I don't know if they'll have got out of that completely unscathed. It looks like James Crouch is off to a proper start here, so it may well be Danny Lee who came off worst from that particular incident. But tell you what, James Crouch, like we said, winner at Montreal, he's the street fighter of ARL GT. It's funny how you get, of course, he could be a resident Gilles Villeneuve. I mean, he's in a Ferrari, and out of the 6 Grand Prix that Gilles Villeneuve ever won, 3 of them were on street courses.
Exactly, and he's got good straight line speed. Look at that. He was pulling away from Daniel Lee, and that is dreadful news for the Colbek driver, because you know, I get annoyed whenever on the Formula 1 commentary they say you need to be 1.5 seconds a lap faster in order for an overtake. Well, you can be 2 seconds a lap faster if you slow down the straights. Nothing's really going to happen. And that is the problem that I think these Porsche drivers may face against the Ferrari. Laubich, though, is behind, and as long as Lee does beat Laubich, at least, sure, it wouldn't be by a big margin in the points, it wouldn't make up many points, but it would be some progress, and he really cannot afford to lose any more points to Laubich, otherwise Nicholas would probably cruise to the finish. How many places then has Sven Newman made up? In fact, Newman's had a bit of a problem. He's actually only just got out of the pits, I believe. Sven Newman is already a lap down. He's completely by himself as Thompson just hits the wall in the background. So this might be championship over, to be honest, for Newman, because he's not going to have a chance of getting within the reverse grid. And there's Sean Simpson just having a problem as well.
That's very, very strange. I wonder what's happened there to Sven Newman. But there's plenty to shake out, even in 25 minutes. There's a lot to happen in this race, and let's not write anybody off at this stage. But look at the gallop, that Ferrari, the prancing horse of Maranello, of James Crouch for Evo SR. Wow, that car is an absolute rocket ship down on the straight line, and it is quite a long front straight here at Long Beach. And I don't think, you look, there's a little bit of damage on the side of the right-hand side of Danny Lee's car. That won't be helping the straight line speed. And James Crouch beginning to just gather a little bit of an advantage here. Of course, his win at Montreal. Montreal is another circuit where straight line speed is very, very important.
Yeah, and as especially around these street circuits, if you can't get past down the straights, then it's going to be tricky to get past down the corner. It's got to be very great. But he's just got the pace at the moment, doesn't he? He's just pulling away from the rest of the fastest lap of the race on that last tour. This is increasingly looking like it's going to be Lee versus Laubich for the championship, because remember, Fulini has got some work to do. He's about 20 points off the championship lead going into this round, and he's currently sitting behind these drivers. Lee is going around that hairpin though. I mean, it is a concertina, it is a bit of an illusion to our eyes, because the driver ahead always gets on the dots or that bit earlier than the driver behind. But it seems like a couple of times he's been able to get out there fairly quick. Hallett's still in 4th place. 5th, and Fulini was down 2 places from his race starts. Fairly close between Powell, Burke and Collins, by the way, in the all-British affair, in the 8th, 9th and 10th positions, but no sign of a move at the moment between any of them as it stands, as drivers are moving about quite a bit. It's very hot track temperatures, the middle of the day pretty much, Peter, so the tyres might be a problem in race 2, but even in this race 1, there's not a whole lot of good for the drivers.
No, 40G, yeah, that is very, very hot indeed, and that will make the surface so greasy and slippy for these drivers. And I want to make a point about the choice of manufacturer. Of course, we've got the Ferraris very, very fast on the straights. The Porsches are usually good in the corners, but I tell you which car is the dark horse, or the joker in the pack here, is the Corvette, because the Corvette has got fantastic stability. It's not the fastest in the straight line, doesn't necessarily have the best corner speed, doesn't necessarily have the best acceleration, but it's just rock solid over the bumps. And I think that will really come in handy today here at Long Beach, which of course is a very, very bumpy circuit indeed. You've got to be able to have the confidence to ride the curbs. And the Porsche's got very good acceleration, it seems. And really, we have to say that the Porsche has been, on balance, the car of choice over the course of the season. Yeah,
particularly in the early rounds, it seems to be the car to go for, as Burke, to who does now, doesn't it, do the fountain. Yeah, it seemed to be the choice of car at the early stages. Certainly Urano were flattering it quite a bit with their absolutely dominant Phillip Island round to kick off the championship, as this is Sven Newman. He's got past Matty Chambers. Chambers must have come into the pits. No. In fact, actually, sorry, no, so Newman is on the lead lap. So apologies for that. So I can honestly say that I think on my screen it said that he was on his first lap when everyone else was on their second. So there was a little bit of a glitch on our timing. But he is actually on the lead lap. So he is all right, actually, Newman, but he needs to get up to that 16th place to get within the reverse grid. If you can do that, and the others have problems in race 2, then the championship is still on because you get such a bonus for winning the race. The point system is quite steep at the top of the standings, so that's got to be his aim. There is 16th place man, it's Marco Torben with damage, so we'll get very close just behind as well. The gap is currently 10 seconds, so with less than 20 minutes to go, it could be possible there for Neiman. I mean, even if he did get reverse grid pole, he would still not be the favourite, Peter, but I really wouldn't rule him out of a chance if he could get that place.
Definitely not, and of course we would then see, if we put the flag out now, Daniel Lee would start from 15th, Nicholas Laubisch would start from 14th, and as we saw, it can turn into an absolute melee at the fountain, as you said, Sam. It's so narrow through there, so I tell you what, this is whoever chose the calendar for ARL GT this season. Genius to put Long Beach as the season finale, because people say, oh, why would you do it there? There's no overtaking. Go, but the attrition rate is always so big here at Long Beach that it's always going to throw up surprises. And if you just step over the edge and you just make that tiniest mistake, there is a stone hard wall waiting to end your day.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's a big slide, and look at Buck almost coming to a halt round the hairpin, but that was just smart driving there from Powell. If you're really lucky around that section, you can actually hold up the other giant. Then Laubisch getting ahead of Lee for second position. This is huge for the championship. Has Laubisch been able to make that move? Yes, he has. So Lee's made a mistake, I believe. Daniel Lee has made a mistake, and Laubisch with a gap now. So what has happened between these two down into turn 1, I imagine it was. It seems like they're still pointing straight, but here it was. So Laubisch behind Lee, he looks to the inside, Lee's trying to hold it off, and from this point onwards, there's a bit of contact between the two of them, and well, they're both very lucky not to hit the wall, and look at Palic getting in on the scene as well. Couldn't do anything with it, but that is the top two in the championship touching there, and a crucial move there for Nicholas Laubisch.
Yeah, be interesting to get another look at that, because it almost seems a little bit unnecessary to bang wheels going into turn 1, and it almost seems like the two of them, there was no, these guys are fighting for a championship. They're not gonna flinch, but I actually think that Nicholas Laubisch might have picked up a little bit of bodywork damage on the right hand side of the car, but we'll see. Sorry, on the right hand side of the car. And he certainly put a lot of distance as Dean Powell, our runner-up by about 2 or 3 whiskers last time out at Sonoma, has had an issue into the wall at the hairpin, and that's good news if you're Sven Newman.
Yeah, because he had no chance of catching up to Powell, whereas now he's kind of in his peripheries. So Powell, Kitzman Collins has had a problem, and Kitzman, we've got a car on his roof. And that's going to need to tow back to the pits because they're on the roof. That was, eventually got away. I think Torben had to come to a stop there. But they turned around the corner, and there was a car in the way. Here it was then. Kitzelman, the driver just behind in this on this occasion. And then the BMW sliding. Kitzelman have nowhere to go. And I imagine he wasn't straight away on the escape button because he had to hold it down for about 4 seconds. As you see there, another issue then for Tolman and Dean Powell. And Powell's very slow to get away, and then there was more contact behind us. They're all getting back underway. And to echo what you said before, great news for Sven Newman.
Yeah, that's a Merry Christmas for Sven Newman, and he's up to 17th now. He's just gone past John Truceder, so this is looking very, very good for the Core Sim Racing Corvette of Sven Newman, who's done it. Look at that car. That's nice and neat and tidy. He's avoided incidents, and they've been going on all over the place. And it's almost as if the sea's kind of parting. Okay, at the start from pit lane, but it's almost as if the incidents have happened ahead of him. He's not had to work his way through as much. And I tell you what, we have to say, Sam, Kevin Kittelman, what could he have done there? Just so unlucky, completely turfed over and ended up on his roof. Absolutely nothing he could do, and that's such a pity, because Kevin's been one of our front runners, not just in AM but overall.
Yeah, and he qualified well as well, didn't he? He qualified in 9th place, I believe, so and that is a big shame. Bia is onto the back of Pouch, but that course, sim racing car does seem to have a lot of pace down the straight, even though they're both, well, apologies, of course, that's a Corvette, isn't it? But you think the Ferrari would be pretty good down the straights, but of course, different setup trims for these drivers. Bellini just sitting behind as well. He desperately needs to get past these drivers. If there's half an opportunity, it's fairly close here, but again, that Corvette is pulling away. Maybe just neutralising about 0.25. Now he starts to gain as the drivers start to face a bit more drag. But it's not there, is it? Faster through the corners bit, but not there on the straights, as Steve Burke's had to come into the pits. So he will chop down. Burke had been one of the big beneficiaries of all that chaos. I think he was just ahead of it. But I don't see too much damage on that car there, Peter. I wonder if he's got some other penalty.
Might well have a drive-through penalty for incident points. Oh no, he's stopping in his stall. Come in for his fast repair. Okay, so this is interesting. I wonder with this Corvette sim racing Corvette of make Palich, given that the Corvette is such a staple package and it's so drivable and so easy to get on with, I wonder if they can run it with a little bit less wing to try and negate the straight line speed disadvantage. And likewise, the Ferrari of Matthias Beer, he's maybe running a bit more wing because he knows he's got a bit of a straight line speed advantage and wants to make it up in the corners. I don't know. Certainly for James Crouch, I mean, he's got that thing absolutely flying. But really interesting, and I think that's what is so exciting about an open setup formula, because there are a lot of leagues, of course, which run on a fixed setup.
Yeah, and to have the balance between the two. Of course, fixed setup's a bit more accessible. I'm a very lazy individual, so sign me up for that. But these open setups, yeah, it does really add an extra dynamic into the racing, doesn't it? Especially when we've got multiple cars, of course. I think Ben, just in the background as well of these drivers. By the way, just a quick shout out to our title sponsor for this championship, and a sponsor we really appreciated have come on board for this season. Colbek Systems, Colbek, an IT reseller with over 30 years in business. They've been working with IT managers and departments across the UK to find savings on Workspace, Altaro, Office 365, ESET, Acronis, and all sorts. So if you visit colbek.co.uk/iRacing, see if you can get better pricing on everything that runs your business IT. Massive thanks to them for supporting the series, because we've been able to offer prize money for the drivers for the first time in each of the races. I believe a little bit goes as well to the end of the championship. So huge thanks to Colbek for their support of the season 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Dane Lees needs a little bit of that help now, but they are catching up, aren't they, to James Crouch. Laubish on that last lap, that'd be half a second faster than Crouch, but can't help but feel he's probably going to face the same problem that Lee had, in that Ferrari is just too quick down the straights.
The only thing is if Laubish can get a very good drive out of the final hairpin and just really use that very famous Porsche traction. Of course, this 911 RSR is a little bit different to the 911 GT3 Cup and the GT3R, where the engine is a little bit more towards the middle of the car rather than the traditional Porsche rear, but it's still more rearward biased than, say, the Corvette, the Ferrari, as Matteo Fellini moves up into 5th spot. Mick Palich has gone back 2 spots, so I wonder if he's made a bit of a mistake somewhere. Matthias Peer up 4th. But yes, coming back to Nicholas Laubish, if he can get a good drive out of the hairpin and get into the draft like so of James Crouch, he might be able to have a lunge on the brakes into turn 1. And as we know, Nicholas Laubish, if there is a chance, he will have a go at it. And he's just getting closer and closer. He was half a second quicker on that last lap. Oh, dearie me. Oh, that was close. Oh, that was very close. Actually locking up. I'm to try and slow the car down to not run into the back of James Crouch's Ferrari. It's a pretty thing. You don't want to... Oh, and it hits the wall.
I think he's tapped the wall a couple of times, but that car is still going straight. By the way, I think Theo got past Palic around this part of the track. It really widens up, and I was thinking maybe this is the best place for Laubish to overtake, because as long as you're close, it's very tricky to defend, because like I said, it is just so wide, or you can get the cut back and make the move down the next straight. Crouch though, with a little bit of a cushion. I really thought that Laubish would be absolutely hounding him, although he does close in quite a bit there. Is a move on at the hairpin. Very brave to do so. He's already going to be investigated by the stewards, I imagine. As a wide goes Crouch, as there is a spin for Crouch now. What's that other traction? As he rejoins into Mathias Beer slightly. Fulini might be the one who benefits from that one, but Crouch, who took second place on the grid, who took the lead immediately, has lost the car there. I believe that was him spinning up the tyres.
I think so. We get a closer look and see if he just taps. Oh, I don't know. I'd need to get a look from Laubish's car, to be honest, Sam. I think he might have got a help. Or maybe he was already spinning and Laubish was already committed to the throttle. I don't know. Let's have a look. Great. Perfect. Here we go. So we're coming around the hairpin now, just to this right-hander. Been hooked by. Laubish goes for that slightly wider entry in.
I think he lost it by himself.
Yep, you're spot on. Yep, just lit the rears up, and oh, that was more dumb luck that he didn't hit anyone on the way back.
Well, that is massive for the championship, because Nicholas Laubish headed into this meeting of the season with a lead over the other drivers. He had 8 points over Newman. He had 9 points over Danny Lee. I think he would extend that lead over Danny Lee by 7 points if it ended like this. And unless Lee could probably get a podium in race 2, which would be possible, Laubish would be in an ideal position to take the championship. Impressive that he's managed to get to the front, especially with 5 minutes to go, because this overtaking was always looking unlikely around this circuit. Fulini just with a personal best. He's up into 4th position, which is good for his championship hopes. And also Sven Newman up into 16th place, so Newman would currently be in reverse grid pole, but he will be looking to get more points. So at the moment, the championship is pretty much Laubish about 15 points ahead of Lee, and then Lee probably another 15 points ahead of Sven Newman. 20 points actually ahead of Sven Newman, and then probably Matteo Fulini in a similar range to Newman at the moment. So it is still all to play for. There is Newman then. He has got, I reckon, a chance at getting all the way up to about Brent Cook. Although actually Cook just laps faster than Newman on that last lap, so maybe that's a bit ambitious. Maybe these next 4 drivers, he's got 4 drivers within 3 seconds, so I think that'll be Newman's aim, probably P12.
Yeah, and of course, if you're thinking, oh, why don't you just stay there and get the reverse grid pole? Well, he needs to keep putting points on the board. That's the when you can score the points, you've got to do it. You can't try and basically backdate them to later on in the meeting. It appears that he's having there's a little bit of an issue with Tom Brown in front in the Ferrari. He appears to be having an internet connection issue, which makes his car blink in and out. He won't be aware of that. But of course, Sven Newman behind him will, and that will be very off-putting. Make it difficult for Sven Newman to plan his move with that little glitch. It appears to have cleared itself though, which is good to see. The thing is, Sam, of course, going into our 40-minute feature race, regardless of Laubish's championship advantage, he's starting in alongside Danny Lee, albeit. Starting in really in a proper lottery. I mean, starting from the 8th row of the grid at Long Beach is always a precarious position to be in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To get to the first lap is going to be tricky, and throughout the race, of course, just making his way up through the order will be tricky stuff. I imagine though, for Laubish. You'd quite like the fact that he'll be, I think is that Atkinson's just got past Prescott. I think so, yeah, I think Atkinson's just made that move. As Palic gets, and Pulini alongside. I think Pulini may have gone for that move into the hairpin. Very brave if he did. But that is, sorry, Palic coming back then, of course, isn't it? Because he lost that, lost a couple of places, but he's actually just re-overtaken Pulini. So that is bad news for the Italian, who drops another couple of points through that one. But the point that I was going to make was how I think Laubish would quite like to be at the back of the fast guys. He won't have, you know, like Fulini and Lee storming up, you know, with a mission on their hands. Instead, Laubish will very much be able to drive his own race and pick off the drivers as he pleases, as long as things go according to plan. So I think the fact that he's at the back of the reverse grid, if you get what I mean, is almost a positive thing for him. He's not going to have to look behind. He can focus all his attention on what's ahead.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is for sure. He's just got to hope that there isn't anything that happens in front of him. That's the only, it's the joker in the pack, and that is, do you know what? That's almost a Long Beach specific danger. It's like driving in a one bedroom flat. This race circuit, it is just so narrow, and it just takes one driver to have half a spin, and all of a sudden you've got a 10-car pile-up.
It is real tight at the moment in that 5-way battle for the first grid pole. This, and they're catching up slowly. Or is this Newman? No, sorry, that was just the. It's looking at the timer screen, and Brian once again glitching out, as you were saying before, Peter. Chambers is dangerously close here to Neiman. He needs to at least get within the reverse grid, but he really needs a bit more than that if he can, as again glitching out is the Indy Sport Drive. That's a little bit closer now for Newman, but that car ahead, despite the fact that it's got damage, it does have the draft from the Porsche ahead. And so Newman is losing time, despite the fact that is probably the cleanest car on the circuit. He's flashing his lights, and that makes much of an indent in the baking sun here in California, and they are catching up to Bingham just ahead. That gap came down. Apologies to Chadwick. No, it is to Bingham. Yeah, he's just a little bit slower up the road. But yeah, Newman's getting a little bit stuck here. Maybe this is an indication of how tricky it's going to be for the front runners to get through in race 2.
I think it's a very good indication, absolutely, and I think it's just the last thing that Sven Newman needs now. Of course, Tom Brown, race winner all the way back in Interlagos, of course, don't forget, in our feature race. But when you've got a car in front of you that's got a break in their internet connection, and the car begins to blink in and out, I always say it's a bit like snoring. Tom Brown's got no idea that that's happening. He's just driving along doing his race. But it's very annoying to those around him. It's a bit like people who snore. They have no idea that they're snoring. Everybody else up.
Sure you're not a snorer?
And well, apparently in the last year I have developed it, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
And I feel quite bad, yes.
Sorry to remind you of that.
Yeah. I used to be so good, but no, I think it's probably the advance in body mass over lockdown.
Yes.
Not helpful.
And yeah, a few people will sympathise with you in that one. So it doesn't look like Neema's going to be able to make the move. They're going to have one more lap to go after this one, because Laubish, as you can see on the timing tab, just crossing line. Shout out, by the way, of course, to SDK Gaming for helping us out, providing our lovely overlay. And yes, you can see everything that SDK offers. We have some awesome graphics on there, and it really is the best overlay for iRacing. So if you want to do broadcasting, streaming, or just use it as a heads-up display, SDK Gaming is absolutely the place to go for all of that. I particularly like this overlay because it is so color coordinated. The M&Ms, I'm sure, as Peter calls them, scattered around the track. It does all look very good. Laubish then, the time has elapsed, and it looks as though he's going to be able to extend that championship lead. We're probably not going to be able to be absolutely sure of the results at the end of the evening, because he did have that collision with Danny Lee. And if there was some penalties for that, it would be a 25-point penalty at least. So there's always a little bit of a question about it, but certainly at the moment, it looks all like it's going to be Nicholas Laubish's championship. He extends his lead by another 7 points by winning race 1 at Long Beach. It is 3 in a row in California for Laubish. And he is now 16 points clear in the championship. Daniel Lee finishes in 2nd place. A disappointment for him, I'm sure, after starting on the on pole position. Beer beats Palic, who beats Fulini, who will be very much an unlikely champion from here on in. Can Newman at least get reverse grid pole, running in 16th place? I think he is just... In fact, they're still going through the final couple of corners, those drivers. So is there going to be a damn dear move here? No, everyone's staying behind, all very patient. Newman then, he starts from the pits. He would need to win race 2 and for pretty much everyone else in the championship to crash out. But it's still a possibility. He gets reverse grid pole, and it's Matt Chambers and Van der Nesse who just miss out on that privilege.
Fitzpatrick the philosopher, what have you done? I mean, Sven Newman, for him to start from pole position in the feature race, you've got to think that he is an absolutely odds-on favourite, and crashes behind, well, don't know. We do sound like a couple of doom merchants here, Sam.
Yeah. That's how we want it to be. That's our brief heading into every broadcast, you know, try to make people feel miserable. And we succeed. Race 1 results. Nicholas Laubish at the top there, 2.5 seconds clear of Danny Lee, then Matteo Spear, Meg Palic, Matteo Fulini, Vin Glenn under the radar, but hopefully we see Vin Glenn in Season 5 because it's really been a nice addition to the championship in recent rounds. James Crouch finishes in 7th place after leading for most of the event. Jensen Adjinson was over half a minute behind in the end, but a good drive to get into the top of the amateur standings and pretty much confirms the amateur championship, albeit we will confirm that after tonight's meeting. Chris Prescott finishes in 9th place, then was Tom Collins, Brent Cook, Dean Powell, Dave Chadwick, Tom Bingham, Tom Brown, Sven Newman gets reverse grid pole, Matthew Chambers was in 17th, there's Chris Van der Nesse, Vin Glenn, Sean Simpson, Tom Collins. Did I say that the right way around? I'm not sure. I don't think I did. Burke, Broomfield, Thompson, Kissman, Tolman, Simpson, Chester, and Holland round out the 26 cars. So we are going to go to an advertisement now, but we'll be back with you in the season finale of the Apex Racing League GT Championship presented by Colbek in just a moment. See you back very soon.
Virtual
Welcome back to the Apex Racing League GT Championship presented by Colbek. We are here for the season finale of this season 4 of the championship at Long Beach, and we've just witnessed a pretty tense race 1 of the evening. We've already done quite a lot of preview, to be honest, Peter, for race 2 of the evening, because it's all, like you pointed out, it's all very doom and gloom. We're looking at the worst case possibility, but it is such a prominent thing around this circuit because it can go so wrong so quick.
Yeah, the Long Beach really does bite. I think that's what makes it such an exciting circuit to drive, because if you get it wrong, it's a big one, and you can't afford to even make the slightest mistake. So therefore, when you get it right, it's so satisfying. I remember a few months ago, I was interviewing Earl Bamber, who's won a couple of races here at Long Beach, and one race actually where the rear splitter of his 911 RSR was hanging off, and he still won. And he says this is just the greatest buzz anywhere in North America to race at.
Yeah, I can totally believe that. It's yeah, quite a journey around this circuit. Relatively short circuit, and yet it does really store a lot in. So here is the grid: Sven Newman and Tom Brown. That is a very competitive front row of the grid. Of course, both race winners so far this season. And then you can see the rest: Bingham, Chadwick, Powell, Cook, and so on. It was a reverse grid of 16 from race 1. So Laubish starts down in 16th place. And we did see it didn't come to blows, let's say, the hairpin on the formation lap, but it was very tricky for the drivers to get into double file. You have to go single file through the hairpin. I think all the drivers have agreed that amongst themselves. But it is so tricky to then form back up into double file before, of course, the green flag comes out. The pulsator can only wait for so long for the green flag to be released. Before they eventually have to put their foot down, of course. So the Ford Mustang Pace Car, we'll bid it goodbye for this season, and we will bid goodbye to the green flag as well for this championship, as we are about to get this race underway, as we have got a little bit of a skirmish further down, and that is Mick Palic, but out in the lead. We have got a green flag for Sven Newman, who pulls away from the rest of the order. It's Tom Brown in second place. Lots of changes already. Jensen Adrianson's up 4 places from his race start. And it was Danny Lee who was one of the losers out in that first lap, in that hairpin kerfuffle. But Cook also dropping down a place as they head into the fountain section. We had problems around here on the start. That is one of the Evo SR cars just managing to get through the test beer with a strong start, still battling as he did for much of race 1 with Matteo Fiolini. But that is a dreadful start right there for Danny Lee, and he's got a lot of work to do from 19.
Oh, that is absolutely devastating for Danny Lee, because we know how sensible a driver is. We know he's one of the cleanest drivers on the grid. He's a real thinking driver, and that's so frustrating. With the last hairpin at Long Beach, it's always a problem to get the drivers around unless you go in single file. And poor old Danny Lee, I can guarantee it won't be recklessness on his part. I would gladly stick my neck out and say that is gutting for Danny Lee as he fights for this championship.
He's now having to go alongside Mick Palic, so both of them had problems, so I imagine they probably collided, but there were so many drivers involved in that one. I think there was a driver stopped on the outside of the circuit, yeah, what a start to this race. So the changes so far: Powell up 2 places, up into 3rd. Jensen Adrianson's up 4 places. Bingham down 3. But surprisingly, there hasn't been any massive shifts. Beer, though, has just hit the wall. He's hit the tyres, so that's not going to be as much damage. And he now drops into this absolutely stacked order of Palic, Beer, and Lee, and Chambers, though, in there as well. All line astern. Prescott just getting past Cook, who's dropped a few places already. So not massive gains for some of the front runners so far, as cut back to Jensen Adriansson. He's only just ahead as we have a driver in the wall. That is Tom Bingham. who held on valiantly in race 1 to that reverse grid position, but he's hit the wall there. But again, these tyres, they must be those cushions. Maybe if you got that softness of cushion, Peter, you'd start out snoring.
Maybe. I've just been advised that sleeping on your sides helps. Unfortunately, we're already there. I am sleeping on the side, which isn't good. Need to think of something. Lose weight. There you go. I recently got engaged, and my dear mother was very, very happy. But it didn't take her long to say, you really need to maybe cut a bit of bark off, Peter. You know, come on. And I was like, oh, thanks, Mum. That's great. Thanks for this. Lovely. Sorry, I'm using ARLGT as a way to vent.
No. If you want this to be a therapist session, we can make it into that. You know, we're all ears here at Apex Racing TV. So.
That's very kind, very thoughtful.
I think that was. Wow, everyone's hitting the walls now. There goes Laubish. We saw his move on Fulini a while back, as Collins is now in the middle of the circuit. And Collins was up in. Well, he started in 7th. He was still in that position as Palic is trying to get past. Palic and Beer and Lee haven't actually got past Burke and Broomfield yet. To be fair, Broomfield's got podium so far this season. Barely saw Broomfield actually in race 1, but he is up 5 places from his start. As there goes Beer, desperately trying to get ahead, but he couldn't. And then still we haven't seen a move into this hairpin so far, but that is, I think, some contact there. But unsettle the cars. Oh, this is going to be a long race now for Danny Lee and all of these drivers who are a bit out of position. Laubish seems to be able to break through it all, but all the other front runners are just marooned.
Yeah, that marooned is the right word, that's for sure. James Crouch looking to make amends from what must have been a really frustrating mistake. He was under pressure from Laubish and just that tiny bit too much throttle, and round it went. These cars do have traction control, but there is a limit of what they can do, and they've got a lot of horsepower as well, of course. But James Crouch right back on form, and Laubish making his way forward with gusto. Now Sven Newman's doing well out the front. He's in a really strong spot right now. All he can do is win the race and hope that something happens behind, and he's already opening up a pretty handy advantage here over Tom Brown. But it's he's not going to worry about what's going on behind. Just win the race and see what happens. You never know.
The end of this meeting 8 points behind behind the championship leader. So of course Laubish entered won race 1. Now there are bonus points and penalty points for instance. So if you get 0 incidents, you get 1 bonus point, which is a real possibility around the circuit because, well, there's no grass for you to hit, so it's very tricky to get a 1x. So as long as you avoid the 4x's, then you've got a chance. So Newman, I'm not sure if he did get that bonus point for race 1, but you know that he may have done. Although, of course, maybe he didn't, and maybe Laubish did. So we're not 100% sure on the points.
Well, Laubish definitely didn't.
well, it could have been a 0x, couldn't it? That contact he had.
He hadn't, but there was more than one. I mean, just being in that melee to start with, there must have been bits of contact.
Oh, sure. Race one, sorry.
In race 1, he had no way Nicholas Laubish had 0 incident points. He must have had at least 1, if not 2.
Yes, you're probably right to be fair. But basically, if Newman wins this race, Laubish needs to be outside the top 20. Is the short bit. So it's possible as Fulini up into 10th. Good work there for Fulini. Also, Lee would probably need to be outside the top 5. Fulini would need to be at least behind Newman. We're all doing this maths on the run, but really, if there was a problem for Laubish, it would absolutely throw this championship wide open once again. So do keep tuned in, guys, for this 40-minute race. It's going to be a good race anyway because everyone is in a queue at the moment. Laubish might be past, actually, Bingham fairly soon. He was very close down to one, wasn't quite close enough, but he couldn't be a whole lot closer as Bingham runs it in a bit deep. Takes quite a bit of curve at the fountain, which you can do, but this is where Laubish seems to be really quick. He's made so many moves around this part of the circuit.
Yeah, and as you said, coming down into Pine Avenue, the downhill to the right-hander, where it's so wide that you can get by, but Bingham doesn't put up much of a fight there into Tecate turn, and Levy's up to 7th position, and certainly in this race, Sam, you're right, not a mark on that car, so I imagine he's on 0 incident points right now, but keeping the car clean, that's the main thing. And the thing is, Nicholas Loudbeach is in the luxurious position where he doesn't have to win the race. He can actually go, you know what, this is fine, I can just run at this pace. To be honest, probably his best thing is just to keep cars away from him. keep cars away and run in clean air and just run to the flag, and the championship will be his. But obviously, I want to just to give a note to Matteo Fellini. I really like the way that he's gone about his business. He's been so consistent all championship long. He's very rarely been on the podium, but he's always been there, top 5, top 10 all the time. And because he's been so consistent, he has been rewarded with a shot at the title here at Long Beach. He might fall just short of it, but somebody parked on the circuit. There's one in the Autosports car. I think it's Kittleman. But yeah, I love the way that Fellini's gone about his business. Just clocking up the points race after race after race.
I have had a little bit of a bias towards Fellini because I would love him to win the championship without winning a race all season long. If you could win a championship through 24 races and not win a single one, that would be insane. I mean, whilst you say, consistency's been his key, and he has probably been the most consistent driver, maybe Danny Lee's never been as consistent. I think he's been as fast as Danny Lee, as that's a top move there from Van der Nesse to get past Big Glenn. Or is that Glenn coming through? That might be Glenn. I'm quite sure actually. If that was a move from Van der Nesse, then top work because Glenn's very quick. Oh, we've got 3 wires here, and that is coming into the pits as Make Palach. Now, what has happened here? Is this an incident penalty? It is. He's got 16. For reference, 3/4 of the grid haven't got any. They've got 1 on 0 on almost everyone. But this is, I imagine, another 4x for Palach.
Well, there's 2 there. There's 2 separate contacts there. And the thing is, for Make Palach, he would have got at least 4 incident points before even going across the green flag. Because, of course, he got stuffed into the wall before the race even went green. So, poor old Make Palach. As you know, Sam, I'm nowhere near on your level as the BSR Radical Winter Series champion. Also champion without winning a race, I understand. I can understand here at Long Beach, you can actually do absolutely nothing wrong. Be smashed 4 times in a row, and you've got to go to pit lane for a drive-through penalty for racking up incident points. It's unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah. You could almost get rid of those incidents for this race, couldn't we? Because you can't pick them up by going off track. That's the purpose of the incident point system, at least the way we have it, because if you're track extending every lap, and iRacing isn't properly penalising you, then you need to get some kind of penalty for yourself. But of course, on this circuit, you can't track extend because there's walls everywhere. So there goes Crouch anyway, just up into 4th.
It should discourage you from having contact with other drivers, because that is where you get the 4 incident points, of course. You only get 1 for track extending. Yeah,
but then you can't really do anything about the contacts most of the time, especially around this place. Like you said earlier on, there's a lot to it.
Oh. Good move there from James Crouch. Well set up, nice and clean. Up to 4th.
It's 8 seconds off the lead as Crouch. Probably a bit too far, even looks very secure. Maybe a podium, I think, in store. Pal driving well again, of course. As Brent Cook, it's a real tricky corner that to race around because it's so wide, and in these GT cars generally, you can't see much. It's a bit like Kota, where you literally just do not know where the other drivers are, and if you have contact, you're straight into the wall. So that was probably a smart thing there from Cook. And it's just letting these drivers past, and we'll try to follow them home now, because they're always going to get past him eventually anyway. So Lee's back up to 15th, which is actually where he started, so he's made up those places. It's Laubich, look at that, 17.3, fastest lap of the race. But yeah, Lee in 15th place, even if Laubich, mean, if Laubich scored no points, then Lee would win the championship. But even if Laubich, say, finished 24th, as long as he did, complete the necessary laps, he would win the championship. Even where Lee is at the moment, Lee would need to get up into the top 8 or so in order to swing that one. So Laubich has all of this covered at the moment.
Yeah, and it's such a shame for Danny Lee that it all ended before even the green flag after just a really frustrating incident at the hairpin on the formation. Sven Newman doing all that he can do right now, just leading away confidently at the front, showing his pace and the pace of the Core Sim Racing Corvette. Of course, Long Beach, apart from on the front straight, it's not a power circuit really. It's all about stability and being able to push and have the confidence to push. And the Corvette is very good for that, I would say. But I'm biased because I adore Corvettes, like Porsches too.
Yeah, and we need to see some Ford action this season, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Andy Thompson, the undisputed champion of the Dagenham Salver, is the only driver running a Ford.
Yeah, he's dominated the championship, hasn't he?
Absolutely imperious in the Dagenham Salver.
Very little, I would say opposition, but I'd say really no one's even given him opposition because they just know he'll win anyway. There he is in 24th place. He has just gone down a lap now on the race here. That was Sven Newman pulling away. That's the gap that Newman's got. You can just see in the Autosport car behind. Another shout out, by the way, to another one of our sponsors for this broadcast and for this series, Apex Racing Academy. You have 29 data packs, which include setups and track guides. It's integrated with the FBRS, and also there's weekly group coaching sessions. So if you want to improve your performance on iRacing, do check out Apex Racing Academy, because there are sets and all sorts of stuff from some of the absolute best drivers in iRacing. Peter Berryman, Kevin Ellis, both Porsche Esports Super Cup drivers, and yeah, you can get their setups for 29 different cars, really ranging from, of course, rallycross to single seaters, these GTE cars, touring cars even, and yeah, they've got coaches for every single one of them who can give you tutorials on how to get a little bit more pace out of yourself. So do check out apexracingac.com for more details on that. Fulini's next up got Bingham. I think Bingham might be let him go here, is he? Because he's straight away moving to the side of the circuit, and he does let him go. So, and also Van der Nesse just going past. They are teammates, of course, at Performance Link, as Palach lights up the timing screen purple with a 17.2 to set the fastest lap of the race.
So Mick Palach all the way down in 21st position. It just shows you what a bit of clean air can do. Well, Mick using the most of it, of course, when he went into pit lane. Now, when he went to serve his drive-through, of course, he won't have been able to take a fast repair, but maybe he didn't need to.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a very good point that you make. Because, yeah, he's got four X's. So how that car is in shape to set fastest laps, I do not know.
Oh, Biren must be the same.
I am frantically looking. No, he's only got 8.
Right, so he's got fast repair maybe. So maybe hit the wall at some point. Hope he's not scratched the very groovy Austin Powers bodywork. And yeah, just takes a fast repair and off he goes.
Behind Palach now.
Okay.
That's one place game for Palach. A little bit of a tap for Pal. This could be a little bit tricky now for Laubich, because he's got Crouch who's very fast down the straight, but I'm not sure if Crouch has actually got the pace advantage over Pal to make the move. So that's dancing left and right.
You've also got to think that Dean Powell has maybe got a score to settle after Laubich snaked him at the light at Sonoma. You've got to think, he's like, not today, my friend. That's got to be an all-time classic ARL GT race for me, race to Sonoma last week.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I honestly, I've commentated on probably 800 races where it's racing TV, and that's right up there in terms of the best. It had absolutely everything. So yeah, recommend checking that one out at some point. It's a bit slow. It's a slow corner to be fair. That's Prescott. And Lee was not close to these guys just beforehand, so something has happened. I think there's been an issue here for Broomfield, because I think Broomfield has just got past these guys. Oh, there we go. And in fact, sorry, Broomfield got to the head of that train, and we've also just had a move for Nicholas Dalbish, and it's at this exact same corner every single time. And Crouch not fighting. He was fighting it a bit, but yeah, just caught unawares.
Yeah, that was a very good opportunist move there from Nicholas Laubish, but you wonder if Crouch, of course, remember Crouch has got a very good race car in a straight line, so let's see. Oh, I tell you what, the Porsche is very good at getting the power down, but once it gets to the top end, the Ferrari really starts to gallop. Tell you what, I wonder if we'll see plenty of Ferraris when we have our 24 hours of endurance racing in the French countryside next month.
Yes. I'm looking forward to the 24 hours of racing in the French countryside. Historic events. Issue for Broomfield. So after that contact, I guess him and Prescott have both come into the pits. So we've had quite a few drivers now in the pits. This will be down to 16th place. Have had to come into the pits. And Palic will gain a couple of places. Yeah, Palic up into 17th place now. This is Chadwick, who's driving very well. It's the Canadian. It's not his home race, but it's that far away. It might be far away, to be fair. If he's based in if he's based in Vancouver, then it's not that far away. Oh, Powell has crashed, it seems. Or he's gone down a skateboard. No, he has crashed. Fortunately, he's very close to the pit, so he should be able to get it in. He can still turn right, but he's carrying on. Then is Team Powell. Not enough damage, but it looks like a lot of damage.
It's got to be the most dangerous pit entry in the world there. So easy for someone to run in back of you there if you're going into the pits. And yeah, that's a real pity for Dean Powell, because he was battling away hard there, but Laubish up to third now. Where is he on our SDK track map on the top right hand side of your screen? Well, he's not too far behind the second place driver Tom Brown. You've got to think that maybe Laubish might make pretty short work of the Indy Autosport Ferrari.
He's still got half the race to get, hasn't he? So yeah, that could happen. Definitely happen. I don't think he'll catch up to Newman. But Newman's been I mean, this is very estimating from myself, because Laubish hasn't had that many clean laps, but from what I've seen, I think Laubish is maybe a couple of tenths faster, which kind of match up with what we've seen for the majority of the rest of the season. So still though, Laubish needs to make sure he doesn't crash. If he did crash, then things would get a bit complicated. Chadwick, the home driver for this, not the Canadian Grand Prix, has lost 2 places there. I think he got overtaken by Fulini, and then once again Vandanessi is not really having to do a whole lot of work here, because he's got a lot of teammates just ahead, and just as easily as he got past Bingham, he also gets past Chadwick there. So the performance link Esports drivers, but working very well. Fulini up to 7th place. Remember, Fulini was ahead of Laubish after kind of the first half lap of racing. The gap between them now is 8 seconds. Laubish has just been able to get through the traffic that bit quicker, but Fulini has got Adjinsons and Powell, who I think he'll be able to catch up to, so he'll be a top 5, and if he could get to a top 5, he'd be fairly close to Newman and Lee in that battle for 2nd place in the championship. Not that it really matters that much for these guys. Oh, no. That's some way to end the season, isn't it? That commentator's curse, and now he's got to get past the performance in cars. Okay, now shut up.
Lap 17, clip that, Sam Fitzpatrick. Oh, that's a pretty pure strain of commentator's curse there, Sam.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Oh, well, nevertheless, you're right. The point is still valid. And I think, well, at least Fellini didn't end up in the wall there. He kept the car out the wall. That's the main thing. So, although we have just a huge band of Porsches all the way from 5th, more or less, almost interrupted all the way down to 16th, we have 3 different manufacturers on the podium as well. Corvette leads Ferrari and Porsche as well. So that's pretty cool. And I'm just thinking, do we... no, we'll have the same set of car choice for next season, Sam.
Yeah, I don't think any new GT cars are being added. I'm waiting for the Aston V10. So was it a V10 or a V12?
No,
advantage?
So the latest...
The Vulcan was V8, but I want the old one. I don't care about the new one, I want the old one.
It was a V8 as well.
Aye.
Yes, it was a V8 as well. Yeah.
Shows my expertise in this category of racing.
The DBR9 was a V12.
You're trying to save me. Just let me drown.
I tell you what, whenever you know when you go, right, I'm up for a bit of iRacing this afternoon, and you go on, and it's like, oh, iRacing is down for maintenance, you know. But actually, I'm like, oh, it's DBR9 time. Here we go. And you pull the DBR9 out the garage for a test drive at Long Beach. It's fantastic. And the noise. Oh, the noise of that car. Fantastic.
I'd quite like to host a classic Le Mans with those cars. Of course, not 24 hours, but maybe like a 3-hour.
2.4. Yeah. So with the DBR9 and the Corvette C6R.
Oh, change for second place. Here comes Laubish, as per around that corner. But yeah, of course the HPD.
HPD for sure.
The prototypes, and then of course the GT1 and the GT2.
Would be a GT2 Ford, would be.
Yes. I'm not sure if there's another GT2. There might be another GT2. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I like the sound of that. And then top class would be the GTP, the Nissan GTP.
Oh, well, I hadn't. Oh, Brown's just hit the wall there. I think he's just turned into the wall. But he's alright. It wasn't okay. I hadn't thought of that, but that sounds good. Yeah, that'd be up.
I think they're quite similar on lap time on certain circuits. The HPD, and of course HPD is nowhere near as quick in a straight line, but it's got brilliant aero. We're on to something here, Sam.
Hasn't ended yet, and we're already producing a new one.
A week 13 special.
Yeah, scrap the GTEs next season. GT1 cars. It's we're going retro.
Look at Goodwood Revival, Sam. Retro is in motor racing.
Yeah. I dubbed the classic Le Mans race. The classic Monaco race the other day. Or the other week. It was very fun. Bingham, I thought he was letting past Lee there, but Lee's going to have to work for this one a little bit more. The white and blue livery going against the blue and white livery. Oh, Lee's absolutely demolished the wall there. Burke crashes into him, and that is the end of Danny Lee's championship charge. He headed into the final 2 meetings of the season in the lead of the championship. It was looking unlikely after race 1. It was looking very unlikely after his start to this race 2. And it just pretty much ended it. Just clipping that inside wall. How that doesn't happen more often, Peter, I don't know. And Steve Burke, very unlucky to have nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's very unlucky indeed for Steve Burke. Nowhere to go, and it's actually pretty quick through there, and you really are threading the eye of the needle. There's a few different ways to do it. You can go very deep in the brakes and then sort of slow it up, point it out, or you can try and swoop round and sort of clip the apex on the inside. There's a couple of different ways to skin a cat there, but that's so unlucky. And Danny Lee, he's fought all the way through to the end of the championship, and like I say, I always enjoy when Danny comes in to have a chat with us here in the commentary box after the races. He always gives really interesting insights into what it's like from the driver's seat, and the kind of level of preparation and thinking to compete at this level.
Yeah, and I imagine he'll still have a chat with us after this race anyway, so he'll be able to give us a bit of a debrief. Someone just reminding me in the chat that we have gone through the whole V8 Aston Martin debacle, but I feel like if you say something enough times, it usually becomes true. So yes, fingers crossed for that V12 Aston Martin. Crouch is catching up to Brown. I think, well, Crouch has had the best straight line speed of anyone, it seems. Brown just a little bit lackluster in this race. He's been kind of stuck in the 18s. He did actually set a 17.5 earlier on, but he hasn't really been able to replicate that pace for a while from what I've seen. We would really back him to be similar pace to James Crouch, but Crouch seems to have a few tenths of a second a lap on him every single tour right now. This would be for third position, at least end the season with a nice podium for James Crouch. It might elevate him a few places up in the championship as well, probably up into 6th place just behind Make Palich. Still, that connection though for Brown is not ideal, but as long as Crouch is close kind of the hairpin, we'll have a very good chance. Just does seem to be struggling to get that power down. Maybe running a slightly lower traction control setting. I mean, you don't want to put it on full whack because then you're too limited. But it's a pretty good exit there. He managed to really line up that corner. And this is where you can see his straight line speed that he's got, James Crouch. Brown isn't too sluggish himself. The gap is coming down considerably. It's down to 0.2 of a second would be a very brave move for the USR driver. And he thinks better of it. Still got over 10 minutes to go. I'm back in to make this move eventually.
Fastest lap of the race for Nicolas Laubisch, 1:16.8. So the German driver is absolutely on a tear here. Even though he's got really doesn't even necessarily need to. He's got a huge gap back to third, and he's really got quite a long way to catch up to Sven Newman. Big gap indeed. Sven Newman coming up to the final section now. Laubisch just coming on to Seaside Way. So he's a big old gap, but Laubisch, once he's in the groove, try and get him out of it.
Yeah, and for a driver who like you alluded to earlier on, made so many mistakes in the first few rounds. I think back to Motegi. Ooh, that's a big slide for Brown. Crouch tries to line this one up, but he doesn't know where the opponent is. Jeez, that must be so tricky. This could be it's got a little bit of catching up to do, hasn't he? But yeah, for a driver who made so many mistakes, I think back at Motegi, Phillip Island, he wasn't ideal either. And a couple of other occasions as well. He has really been exemplary for the second half of this season. Very few mistakes as here comes Crouch, no mistake here, although there is into the wall for Brown. Through goes his teammate Adjinson's into 4th place. Back Powell just squeezes through as well, and Brown ends up in 6th place. That was quite how close the drivers were behind. It's like those top guys are further ahead than they are, but it's a very competitive order in this championship. And yeah, Brown into 6th place. Let's look at Van der Nette having to just take evasive action on Simpson. He was going down a lap, but yeah, that is bad news there. Tried to make the corner, but once you're on the outside in that situation, Peter, you pretty much have to just give up because going around the outside as the defensive driver is so tricky.
Yeah, not advisable, that's for sure. You're just going to have to cut your losses at that stage. Well, now Sven Newman showing red on our time screen. Why is that?
He's a lap up on these drivers.
With you.
So he's on the next lap than these drivers, or something like that. I'm not sure why he is red to be fair, but it's something to do with that.
Made me worry, thinking, because there's a similar sign when it's the driver goes out, and you go, oh no, that's not what we want to see. Certainly after Sven Newman's been so just imperious in this second race, making full use of his pole position.
Yeah, there's he's still 8.5 seconds clear of Laubisch, so no question about his credentials for this race win. I think would only be his second race win of the season, which is crazy. So you think that is very close again through turn 1, isn't it? And Gitzelman does move past. I thought for a moment there, Chester may have come off quite bad there, but I think all the corners are still pointing in the right direction. Final shout out, by the way, to another one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School. We have over 50 data packs on offer for both oval and road racing. Set up some amazing data analysis software and one-on-one coaching with some of the best drivers on iRacing. So do check out Virtual Racing School. Big thanks to them for helping us out on Apex Racing TV, and thanks for them as well for helping us out on Apex Racing Academy, because the great thing about those two services is that they're basically combined with each other. So if you get a subscription for both, you can use the terrific setup sync software which Apex Racing Academy offers. You can use that on your VRS setups, and then you can use the VRS data analysis software on your Apex Racing Academy setup. So it's a real cool mix between the two of them, and it's absolutely the go-to plan in order to improve your pace on track. So big thanks to Virtual Racing School, as Nimmo was just getting past one of the Team Lizard cars. By the way, we haven't talked about it too much this season, but in the Teams Championship, Core Sim Racing are going to take the title. So it's fitting that Newman is leading the way at the moment. Urana Esports remarkably in second place, despite the fact that Laubeach has missed a couple of meetings, and because his teammates Alexei Nesov's missed 5 or 6 meetings. Despite that, they are still going to be able to finish runner-up, it seems, with just beating Colbek as well. So really impressive from those two teams. 2 new teams to the championship as well, and they've certainly made their mark on this Apex Racing League GT Championship. So well done on the pair of them.
I tell you what, Sam, what do you think? You mentioned that Nicholas Laubeach is, he's had a fantastic second half of the season, and really, obviously getting a double at Sonoma, really, really impressive, and in the most dramatic fashion, of course. But the question, do you think he's kind of, with Alexei Nesov, his teammate, dominating the first half of the season, then went off to pursue other stuff? It seems to me, I certainly feel that Nicholas Laubeach has really kind of stepped out the shadow and actually shown that he's got the championship leading pace, and it's almost as if it's given him a lift by carrying the kind of Urano Esports flag on his own.
I think that might be true. Yeah, because I do think he's driven better since Nesov hasn't been in. Maybe to beat Nesov, he feels like he has to drive at 90%, whereas against these other drivers, he has to drive at 80% or something like that. Because I think Rotegi's the best example where he was leading at the start of race 2 and then just goes off by himself with a really kind of unusual mistake. He hasn't made any of those mistakes in the second half of the season, so it is quite a change. He had a bad Spa meeting, remember, but apart from that, it's just been absolutely superb. I missed a couple of rounds as well in the first half of the season, did Laubeach. Are you questioning whether or not he had a bad Spa meeting? I thought he had a bad Spa meeting. He certainly had one bad meeting in the second half of the season, but apart from that, I think he's outscored everyone pretty much every round apart from that.
Yeah, he has. He's been so much better in this second half. The pace has always been there, as we said, but just being able to deliver under pressure. And today, I mean, you talk about pressure. He's got not 1 but 3 rivals to worry about coming into this meeting. He'll know he's made a couple of mistakes under pressure, as all the drivers have. But coming into Long Beach, of all places, where it can be a bit of a lottery at times, and even with us, we've seen drivers getting tangled up in stuff on the pace lap, and he's come in and he has just delivered absolutely perfectly. I mean, winning in race 1, and then coming out here, starting from 16th on the grid on a circuit like Long Beach, and he's now running in second. And although Sven Newman is putting in personal bests twice in the last 2 laps, Laubeach has taken 7/10 out of him in the last 2 laps. So this has been a proper champions drive, a great way to put the cherry on the cake.
Yes, yeah. First and second to round out the season is certainly the way to do it. Brown, after hitting the wall, remember, I think he's vulnerable here from Van der Nesse, who's been very quick in this race. Van der Nesse, he's up 11 places. I wish we saw him have kind of a competitive race 1, to be honest, but he was spinning immediately When I was thinking it was Dean Powell, it was the other blue and white team. It was Van der Nesse. And that pretty much derailed that race. Unfortunately, he couldn't get within the reverse grid. He missed out on the reverse grid by 2 places. But he has had really good pace in this race too, and you can see he's keeping behind Matteo Fulini, as he has done for about the past 10 minutes or so since Fulini had that commentator's curse put upon his soul. Down the straights, it looks as though Van Ness is a bit faster, it seems. Maybe that's just the normal slipstream advantage. Powell looking like he's going to get another top 5 at the moment. It's Atkinson's just clear of these guys. Only 2.7 seconds up the road. He is lapping slower though, is Atkinson. So these 6 cars can be very close to one another in a couple of laps time when the checkered flag is waved. They are half a minute though behind the race leader, just to show the dominance Sven Newman has had in this race. Van der Nesse close enough for the move this time round. It's too far back again. He's just not quite quick enough. Oh, that's into the wall for a second time, and also very slow behind. Fulini manages to make his way through, and Van der Nesse was so committed to the corner already that he had nowhere to go as Brown demolishes a Gardner's 5 years of work.
Oh, I tell you what, that said, they've had all the green thumbs in California to get that flower bed sorted, and that vandal in his Ferrari comes and crashes into it. Oh dear. That's a difficult. It's been a difficult last few rounds for Tom Brown, and let's see on board with Matteo Fulini get an idea. I tell you what, Fulini does well to avoid that.
And he left a lot of room, didn't he, as well? You know, he wasn't just going to like skim past. He left 2/3 of the track for them to have their mess. Just playing the percentages there. Fulini, so up into 6th place. He'll probably be the second highest scorer actually tonight, Fulini. Under the radar as he always does. But it's been another very good drive for him. We're just going to miss out on an extra lap actually, so this is going to be the last lap of the race because the white flag was waving. Brown is in. Is that incident? No, it's not. It's for damage, so has hit the wall a couple of times, of course. 20 seconds to go then to crown a champion. Also crown a race winner as well, because Sven Newman has had to work hard for his race wins so far this season. I think he got one back at Indianapolis, but it's been slim pickings apart from that. But once he starts on pole position, there was absolutely no doubt. And himself and Core Sim Racing are going to be able to take the team's championship. It's an awesome way to clinch it for them. Sven Newman wins race 2 at Long Beach, but behind him, Nicholas Laubich with a brilliant comeback in this championship. He finishes in 2nd place and seals the points to win Season 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship presented by Colbek. As long as there's no external penalties applied to him after the race, he has well and truly taken this title. Congratulations to him. And it's Jensen Adriansons in fitting form who wins in the amateur category and takes his first ever Apex Racing League title. It's come on the 3rd attempt in this Apex Racing League GT Championship, but he has been able to clinch it at the end, and in the end, fairly comfortably as well against a very competitive order. Congratulations to the Belgian on a terrific title, as Nicholas Laubich does some donuts in the Californian sun. He is your champion for this season.
Oh, brilliant stuff there from Nicholas Laubich for Urano Porsche, and you can hear that 4-litre flat 6 absolutely clattering off the limiter. Brilliant drive, brilliant season for Nicholas Laubich, and tell you what can he do next in the world of Porsche? Of course, Urano have a number of teams in the sim racing world for this brand. We'll have to get him on the Porsche Sport podcast, Sam, for a chat.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have a chat with him as well in just a minute, because he's always a very nice driver. We were talking about Danny Lee, how good he's to interview, but I think Nicholas is up there as well. Always very positive after the race. It's really cool to see such a competitive driver, because usually the competitive drivers are real miserable But Nicholas is always, I think, happy whenever he gets out of the car, which is awesome to see. He's absolutely overheated those tires. I don't think that spin was on purpose, but he'll now do his parade lap, his lap of victory. Congratulations to him. Sven Newman then, taking the final race win of the season, race 24 of the championship. He gets a bit of that Colbek Systems prize money in his pocket. He beats Nicholas Laubisch and James Crouch. Jensen Adriansson's amateur championship winner. Congratulations to Jensen, and congratulations as well to Indie Autosport, because I'm not sure if they've won a championship in the past. I'm sure they'll correct me at some point on that, but it's a long time coming for one of the best teams in Apex Racing League. Dean Powell finishes in 5th place. Then was Matteo Fulini in 6th, Vin Glenn, Chris Van Den Esse, Dave Chadwick and Tom Bingham round out the top 10. Behind that was Steve Burke, Kevin Kitzelman, Brent Cook, John Trester, Mick Palach, Matthias Beer, Stephen Broomfield, Tom Brown, Chris Prescott, Tom Collins, Danny Lee, Matthew Chambers, Sean Simpson, Andy Thompson, Derek Holland and Marco Tolman. The bottom 3 of them won't score points, but big thanks to all the drivers, 23 out of 26 of them completing the race and getting to the checkered flag. Of course, we've got a fair few drivers when we started off this season, but still 12 meetings of the championship to end with 26 cars batting as they did tonight is really fantastic to see. So thanks to everyone for attending this race. So we are going to have some interviews, but at the moment, no one's going to have a chat with us, Peter, and usually it's at this point that I would say, so next round of the championship, what's going to happen? But this is it. That's the end of the season. However, always a go-to question in this circumstance is for you, race of the season or moment of the season. I should have given you some time to think about it earlier on, but I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Ooh, there are a few. I mean, the obvious one is, of course, race 2 at Sonoma last week. I mean, I think that will take some beating. I did really enjoy our visit to Barber Motorsports Park. That was really cool. It's a circuit that maybe a lot of people might not have even heard of before, but it's an absolute gem of a place. Really undulating. It really flows very nicely, and I hope the drivers enjoyed it. And it certainly threw up some drama for us as well. So that was cool. And of course, quite enjoyed Matthias Beer's drive to the win in the feature race at Donington as well. That was just absolutely dominant. He just pulled it out there. But yeah, we've had a few, but it's very hard to top Sonoma Race 2 for me.
I think that does go down as race of the season, and I'm a bit annoyed that you pointed out the Matthias Beer one, because I was going to say that's probably the moment that rivals it, because I think I keep on saying I believe so that Matthias Beer was the first ever. Apologies, not Matthias Beer. It was. Oh, dear me, I'm not doing the moment justice now, am I? But we had our first ever amateur winner for Drew Becker, of course, back at Spa.
Yes.
And managed to clinch that one. It was really cool to see him on the top step of the podium. That whole meeting was very good, to be fair, back at Spa. So no, that was certainly one of the best races. All of a sudden, half the field have come into the waiting area. So whilst I'm doing the points, Peter, I'll let you take the first pick of who you're going to chat with.
Well, I think it would only be proper if we get our champion in here, Nicholas Laubisch, who's thoroughly deserved this. Nicholas Laubisch, you are the Apex Racing League GT champion. How does that feel, sir?
It feels incredible. It's my first ever championship, and in such a field, it just feels incredible to have the title.
Oh, I'm so pleased for you, Nicholas. You've really deserved it. And of course, you guys at Arano, yourself and Alexia, came out the gate really, really hot. But over the season, you've carried up the mantle for the team. And this second half of the season's just been fantastic. Was anything that you changed throughout the season to kind of get that extra step in form?
Yeah, I think I adapt a bit more to the Porsche because it needs a completely different driving style, and I just got into it, and I think at the end I mastered the car. I didn't really make any big mistakes, I always had a good braking spot, and it just felt the car felt nice in every corner and every race. So I think it was just the time I needed to completely perfect my driving style.
And coming into this final meeting, Nicholas, you had not one but 3 other rivals to worry about. And Long Beach, anything can happen. It's so tight around the walls, and it's easy to get caught up in others' incidents. I mean, how are you feeling today coming into this meeting?
Yeah, I knew that podium here, like pole, is the most important thing because of the last turn, and there's a lot of shenanigans there, always in every race. And then I saw that Daniel was extremely fast in qualifying, and I binned my qualifying lap a bit, so I had to start from P3, and I was a bit worried because he was extremely fast. In the end, I think my way of overtaking him was, completely fine. I think, we both were fighting for the championship, so we won't leave anybody else a lot of space, and in the end, Netcode unluckily killed him. And in the second race, I was very, very worried. Starting from P16 is extremely hard, and as I mentioned before, the normal stuff for Long Beach happened. Daniel was starting on the outside, and he got into an accident right at the last corner, even before the race started. So that was really unlucky for him, and I also felt very bad because the championship decider shouldn't be like that somebody is crashing even before the race starts without him having any chance to avoid it. So I was a bit relieved that he didn't have a good start, but I think nobody really wants to win a race like that.
I understand what you mean. It was really unlucky for Danny. You're absolutely right, Nicholas. Now, with this championship under your belt now, what is your next target? Of course, there's so many different championships in sim racing now. What have you got your eyes set on next to go for?
Yeah, I'm more of an endurance guy, so it's pretty unlucky that iRacing doesn't have the World Championship endurance anymore. I was driving in that like 4 or 5 years ago, but now there's not really a lot to do. Porsche isn't really my car to drive, and it's sprint races which are very chaotic. So I will just try to somehow find the best leagues and the best splits to drive and to show my real pace, I think.
Well, we shall certainly look forward to watching that, and do come back and join us anytime here on Apex Racing TV, Nicholas. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Before we let you go, though, who would you like to say hello to and say thank you to after your championship win?
Yeah, of course, thanks to Rane, thanks to our sponsors, Huawei, Heineken Media and HP, and of course thanks to my parents, which watched every single race I was driving.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Laubish. Your boy did well. Nicholas, congratulations. Go and enjoy a celebration. So that was our champion, Simon. You know when you can hear somebody smiling, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could just hear the elation straight away. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, really awesome. Congrats to Nicholas. Really well-deserved champion for this season. By the way, we haven't talked about the team's championship a whole lot, and I feel a little bit bad about that. There's a couple of reasons for that being the case of it. I do feel bad because I should have made a bigger effort. But of course, like I said earlier on, Core Sim Racing are the team's champions. But for this season, we've had also the amateur team's champions as well. And in terms of the top of the amateurs has been Performance Link Esports, and they only just beat out Team Lizard in the end. So congratulations to those two teams. They're actually 4th and 5th overall. So it really just shows how kind of strong those two teams were. They fielded 3 drivers at pretty much every single round of the championship, as far as I recall. And yeah, Performance Link being able to clinch that championship. So congratulations to them for a really stellar season. We will next have a chat with our amateur champion for this season, because we have got 4th place in race 2 man, Jensen Adriansens, who joins us now. Congratulations, Jensens. I have updated the points, and everything points towards you being the amateur champion for this season. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Just started going really well the last couple of races, and I took the lead and got the gap, so I'm really happy with it.
We've chatted to you and, of course, the other Indie Autosports drivers a lot, and you've always kind of said how your key to success this season has been the amount of practice that you've been able to put in. Do you think you would have been able to achieve this championship without kind of that level of dedication?
Yeah, personally, I didn't have a ton of practice for this race, but I'm pretty busy with school and yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, the team just helps me a bit with like the setups, for example, because like you say, they practice a lot and just yeah, helps me out as well if I can't get all the time in. So I don't have to, because they already put a lot of work in doing the setups and stuff.
And how did you find Long Beach today? Because by my reckoning, that might be your best meeting in Apex Racing League GT history. I mean, were you confident heading into this meeting?
I was actually really surprised because I just planned to, yeah, I already had a big gap in the championship, so I just planned to try and make it to the finish in one piece. But then it turned out I had some good pace and I could keep out at the front. I had some luck with the start as well, and then managed to stay in P4 for the final race, so it just went really well.
We've seen you race in the Formula 3 cars, of course, before. And of course, this championship for many seasons. What is the next step? Do you think you're going to be sticking with the GTEs? Are you going to pay your attention to somewhere else? I mean, what's your eyes set on now?
Yeah, I like the GT cars. So I probably will stick with this championship a bit more. I also like doing GT3s, but so maybe I'll do some more in that as well. And so I just yeah, try to do as much as I can when I have the time. So just keep doing it.
Awesome. Well, we certainly hope to see you back out here for next season. Jensen, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just shout out to the team, and they just did a good job this season, and I hope we can continue our form for next year. Or next season.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Jensen, and once again, congrats on the title.
Yeah, thanks guys. See you.
Jensen Adjenson's the winner for this season in the amateur category, and yeah, had to work hard for it. I think third season in the championship for Jensen, so congrats to him on that. Peter, we've got, I think, time for maybe one or two more interviews. Who do you want to have a chat with now?
Ooh, well, I think we've got to have a chat with Daniel Lee. I know we speak to Daniel a lot, but today was he was just so unlucky today. Let's get him in and have a chat and see. Daniel, welcome to the Apex Racing TV commentary box. You threw the kitchen sink and more at that one, but just coming up short. But what a season it's been!
Yeah, it's been a good campaign. I mean, it's a heartbreaking way to end it, but 12 rounds, 24 races. Generally speaking, it's been a really good one. There has been legitimately times where I've been surprised by my own sort of competitiveness. So happy to see that, but man, I'm just gutted the way this went. Just seemed like this track didn't want me to succeed, despite getting the first pole ever that I've had in this series. Just nothing. Be it netcode, be it parade lap chaos. Nah, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, of course. Tell us about it, Daniel, because like you say, putting it on pole here at Long Beach is paramount. And when you're coming to fight for a championship, you did everything you could do. But when you do an official race, it's guaranteed carnage on the formation lap going around that hairpin. But here in ARLGT, we're not as used to seeing that sort of thing. But just tell us what happened, because it was that basically put the end to the championship hopes at that point.
Yeah, in a way, you can't really blame anybody here. I mean, I was looking at the backside of Palak, It seemed like somebody checked up in front of him, so he tried to go around it. He got his front left snagged on the tyre wall and it stopped him dead. I was right behind him, so I just basically smacked into the back of him. And typically, amongst the whole field, it had to be me. Well, technically it was me and Palak, but it had to be us, didn't it? And considering I was starting alongside Laubish, literally by the time I was dislodged from that wall, by which time the green light had gone, Laubish was already gone up the road. So that's basically, job done as far as I'm concerned. The race was over before we even crossed the start-finish straight. So I'm just gutted. It's circumstantial. It feels like external factors really kind of destroyed it. But then I made my own mistake 2/3 of the way through race 2. So generally speaking, all my bad luck was saved to the end.
Well, it's Daniel, you've given us a brilliant show all the way through the season and fought all the way. Of course, it's the good thing. It's not long to wait for another season. We're going to see you back next time to go and get that title.
I'll certainly be back. I just don't know in what capacity. I'm expecting a house move at some point soon, and everybody knows that knocks you out for a couple of weeks as you're trying to get stuff together. So I'm certainly going to be back, but another championship attempt might not be possible. But I'll certainly want to stick around and do some good racing.
Oh, I like the sound of that even better. Daniel Lee comes through in halfway through and just starts shaking up the field. I like the sound of that.
That would be good.
Brilliant. Well, Daniel, before we let you go, first of all, big props from myself and from Sam as well, I'm sure. You've given it everything and came up just short to a very worthy champion in Nicholas. But before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. Nicholas deserves a championship because he's so fast, quite ruthless, but he's dropped around. So congrats to him. He deserves it. Thanks to all the other competitors as well. We had a really good campaign. So for it to come down to the last race is amazing. Thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Sam Kumo, I've had a look at the SDK overlay, and boy, does it have a lot of buttons. So good job to you, man, for doing such a good job of the broadcast, and to everybody involved for the support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Daniel. Looking forward to seeing you coming back, even in a wildcard capacity next season.
For sure. Thank you very much, guys.
Oh, I wish I could hand out virtual cuddles, Sam, because Daniel, I actually must be honest, I missed that at the time. Daniel coming in and putting it on pole. I mean, he at that point he must have been thinking, "Here we go."
Yeah, he put himself into that position, didn't he, to start chopping down the gap, and just didn't happen in the end for him. So maybe we've got a couple more drivers waiting in the interview area. Let's have a chat with Kevin Kitzman, because I believe, as long as Kevin is willing to have a chat with us, I believe he is. Yes. So Kevin managed to get second place in the championship. Only just, so it is, pending any penalties or whatever, it might change. But, Kevin, you must be delighted to make it so that there's 2 Indie Autosports drivers in the top 2 in the Amateur Championship.
Yeah, first of all, you're not kidding, right? Because I really thought I'm going to be behind Steven Berg right now after
3
what
points.
happened in race. 3
apparently.
points? How did that happen? Okay, well, that makes me even more happy. Wow. My goal was for today to finish off in P2 with my 3 points lead ahead of Steven Berg. But after what happened in race 1 and also unfortunately in race 2, I thought that's it. P2 is gone. Steven got it. Steve was just more consistent today. But to hear now that I still got P2 in the end makes me really happy, actually. Yeah.
So I think the thing that's changed it was that Steve got a 10x, I believe, in race 1 or race 2, and so he got 3 penalty points. So otherwise you guys would have been tied, but because of that, you just about had the edge. So congratulations. I talked to Jensen's about the amount of effort you guys put in for each round, and I very much embarrassed myself and himself because he said, I don't actually do that much, it's the other guys. But I assume you do a lot of practice, I assume, at least, and particularly in these last few rounds, it's really paid off.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, did you want to say something else?
No, you go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, well, basically, I gotta say, I'm really proud of the whole team, everybody, because yeah, basically what you said, we've been putting on the practice sessions and everything, and tweaking the setups for every single driver to be competitive in here. And for the last few seasons, we noticed the more we practice, the better you get, obviously. But you said after last season, we definitely want to show all the other drivers what we're capable of in season 4. So yeah, that's where we started to practice even harder than before, and hey, in the end it paid off, and I would say it was our best season we had so far.
Yeah, I think so. And what's next for Indie Autosport? We see you in pretty much half of our leagues on Apex Racing League, but which ones have you been enjoying the most in the last few months?
Of course, the GT Championship, because the RSR is still one of my favorite cars to drive. It's like my better half. The competition in the GT Championship is like so high. I've never seen such a good competition anywhere else, not in the official series, not in any other league. That's why I came back for the 4th time this year, and would like to come back for season 5.
Yes. Any circuits that you'd like to see on season 5?
Ooh, I would like to see a few more classics. Please don't Long Beach anymore, because that was really tough, I think, for everybody. And I think if you asked the other drivers, they would agree. But yeah, more classic circuits. But in the end, I would also say keep us surprised about some circuits, because for this season we expected some old classic circuits, but you surprised us with like Barber in there now with Long Beach, who turned out to be pretty exciting races in the end. So yeah, I will look forward to it and keep us surprising.
Awesome. Jefferson Circuit it is. All
Nordschleife.
Nordschleife. Oh, don't go there, Peter.
Oh, please, that would be like, let's do like last season we had, I think it was mid-season, we had what was it, 1 hour, 1.5 hour endurance event at where was it, Road America?
Road Atlanta.
Road Atlanta, yeah. Why not do this next year with the Nords? Like, I think everybody enjoys the Nords, right?
What a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have asked that question. Oh, no.
I'm actually looking up to my Nordschleife that is hanging above me right now, so I'm praying to the racing gods that we're going there next season.
Well, you did get 2nd place in the championship, so I might feel generous. We'll see. Kevin, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. My whole team, everybody's been doing such a great job, especially Drew Becker. That guy was practicing the most with me all season long. Oh no, just seen I've hit the wall there. Yeah, he pushed me always to do better. So I would really like to thanks Drew. Then, of course, my parents, my best friends, who are all watching, and you guys from Apex Racing TV. You always put on such a great show. The commentary is always on point. That's why I also like to come back, because of you guys. So keep it up, and see you guys for season 5.
Awesome. We'll see you there, Kevin.
Alrighty. See ya.
Kevin Kitzelman there, finishing in 22nd and 12th positions tonight, but that wasn't enough to hold on to that slim margin he had over Steve Burke and take 2nd place in the Amateur Championship. Peter, it's been a real fun season. I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been nice that we've been able to have a competitive order throughout, and yeah, can't wait to season 5.
Well, neither can I. I mean, I think it's been a really good start to the ARLGT year. Of course, we'll have another season coming up soon, and I have to say, Kevin Kittelman, a man of many talents, of course, Indie Autosport team leader and expert of track selection by choosing the Nordschleife, but he's also a very good sub-editor for our race reports on ApexRacingLeague.com, because Kevin very kindly brought to my attention a particular error that I'd made on one of the race reports, and I was able to go and correct it and save my blushes. So Kevin, you need a sub-editor, give Kevin a call.
if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is.
There you go.
There you go. That pretty much wraps up our coverage for this season. But one last time, I want to give a big shout out to Colbek Systems for helping us out, because the fact that we've been able to offer about 25 quid worth of prize money for every single race this season. 24 races, and there's been about a prize pool of I believe about £600 or something for the drivers. It's absolutely amazing, and without Colbek we couldn't do anything like that. So massive thanks to them. Of course, do check them out at colbek.co.uk/iRacing. They're an IT reseller. And yeah, if you're trying to get discounts on your business IT, then they are absolutely the guys to go to. So yeah, huge thanks to Colbek for helping us out and making this Season 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship what it is. Also, thanks, of course, to the drivers for making this season so entertaining. Thanks also to Alex Skinner, actually, for popping in for a couple of meetings, for helping us out on the broadcast. And thanks to you guys for tuning in every week. We won't do the broadcast if it weren't for everyone. So whether you're a driver watching this back, or whether you're just a fan, or whether you're maybe a fan of one of the drivers, thanks for watching our broadcast. Thanks for engaging us with us on the YouTube chat, and yeah, certainly hope to see you more often on Apex Racing TV. And of course, the best way to do that is by subscribing to our channel, by liking this video, and also checking us out on Twitch as well, because we broadcast almost all of our events over on that platform as well. And also check out our social media as well on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Peter Mackay, and from Sam Kume, it is Nicholas Laubish, your overall champion. It is Jensen Adjensens, your amateur champion. That is all from Season 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship, presented by Colbek. See you back for Season 5. See you then.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran, or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.